In the Season 5 episode representation, Gabriel is able to use a dream mist in order to give Cat Noir nightmares. That nightmare is a future of him becoming Cat Blanc and destroying just about everything, including Marinette, and then her corpse crumbles to dust. In the previous episode Revolution, we see that Marinette and Adrien overcome the timers on their powers. While Marinette gains infinite lucky charms, Adrien gains infinite uses of his cataclysm. As you can imagine, the infinite uses on a destruction-based power that activates with a touch is quite a story-breaking one. It's why deft touches tend to be limited to, well, touching, obviously, and characters with this power tend to approach ranged fighters from behind, or this power tends to be used by a villain since it's so overpowering. So, where is my issue with how this is handled? Let's start at the impetus. The explanation we're given for Adrien suddenly being able to overcome the ring's limits is that he simply grew up. Throughout Revolution, mind you, Marinette and Adrien don't waltz in and stop Chloe's coup. They stand on the sidelines. Basically, Chloe had coup Paris's entire political system using robots because miraculous, and she doesn't even gain Monarch's power until later in the episode. So Marinette and Adrien's whole getting captured by Chloe is more of a consequence of their own inaction rather than anything else. So their whole, we're no longer children, we grew up bit, and we can now use our powers with infinite uses and not have timers on us anymore, plays out less like a climax to a story arc and is more of a deus ex machina. Then there's the actual problem of Adrien developing this stigma about his powers. Yes, him feeling guilty about killing someone with his powers has happened before. In the New York special, we saw him kill Uncanny Valley on accident, which makes him renounce the ring temporarily. I can respect this because him accidentally killing Uncanny Valley was an action he took, even if it was an accident. After all, with great power comes great responsibility. Accidents will happen, but minimizing accidents and blunting their effects are part of the great responsibility. This fear, however, does not work at all, because it is not about Adrien, it's now about Gabriel. These actions weren't taken by Adrien, it's a fear planted within him by Gabriel. This single manufactured nightmare doesn't simply fade away at the end of the episode. No. In the next episode, the season finale, mind you, Adrien is so crippled by this fear, plus the whole additional dream mist that Gabriel infected him and the rest of the world with, that he ends up sleeping through the finale. Marinette is also crippled by this nightmare-inducing mist. She still puts on the spandex to fight. Alia is crippled by this dream mist, but she's willing to get off her butt and fight because there's something to lose in this, even if her decision-making is impaired, such as rejecting Plague out of fear induced by the nightmares. That is much better than what Adrien's going through. Regular civilians, like Marinette's uncle, are willing to fight despite regular influences of the nightmares causing them to stumble. Other superheroes are willing to fight despite these nightmares. Adrien looks like a fool in comparison to any of them. It's honestly such a waste of his character. The boy with a controlling father who ends up wanting to control his own fate ends up becoming a superhero, something his father can't control, and actually he holds something his father wants to control. The storyline here seems quite obvious. Adrien wanted more control of his fate, and becoming a superhero is, by proxy. Wouldn't it make far more sense and be far more interesting if Adrien actually did end up getting akumatized and causing a ton of destruction? Or maybe killing not just one but many people on accident from overuse of his powers over destruction. It would be a nice metaphor about how when you grow up, you are given more power, but at the same time you are given more responsibilities. And why not use that with superpowers as a metaphor? The more freedom you have, the more responsibility you have, not only to yourself, but to those around you. But instead, we get manufactured angst. It's honestly shocking how much that this character, who doesn't want to be defined by his father's obsessive controlling personality and actions, ends up being controlled by his father's obsessive controlling actions. This is while Gabriel is on his deathbed from the cataclysm wound he suffered earlier in the season. And this persists, I think, even after his death, because I'm sure the finale didn't simply wipe away his fear of cataclysming everyone. I question if this writing decision was a drama-preserving handicap for Cat Noir. Marinette tries to kill Gabriel twice using Cataclysm in the finale. When it failed the first time, she collapses to the floor using that exact attack. It's not like the nature of Cataclysm has changed at all. He's not like Cat Blanc who can just fire decay lasers. Adrien still needs to activate Cataclysm with a touch. And there's a lot of workaround to preserve drama. Teleporters, people who can turn intangible, long-range fighters. The possibilities to get around this aren't unlimited, but there's still a lot of ways to do this, and it can still be visually interesting. I get the strange feeling that the crew don't actually know what to do with Adrien, so they keep piling on meaningless angst onto him in order to make us feel pity for him. Whether it's killing someone like Uncanny Valley, being forced into a nightmare and having PTSD from that nightmare, or becoming angsty about being replaced by Ladybug, he's become less of a character we would like to see struggle and become stronger because of it or in spite of it, and more like Jean Grey from the X-Men films. Jean in those films is less of a character which we care about, it's in the name even though it's not spelled correctly, and more akin to an unstable time bomb. We care less about her and her relationships, and more about the stuff that's happening around her and to her. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. We've seen plenty of writers take on inane or idiotic concepts and turn them into gold. We've seen other writers fix the messes another writer ended up making. Maybe the next Miraculous writer can pick up Adrien's character and do him some justice. What I know now is that as Adrien stands, I don't think he functions as a character. Because, as it stands now, the show treats him and Chat Blanc as an inevitability, as if he's going to go Dark Phoenix any time now. That's not what made the Dark Phoenix saga great in the first place. Jean was not a Carrie-esque time bomb ready to go off at any second in the original Dark Phoenix saga. Maybe Adrien shouldn't be treated like a Carrie-esque time bomb in Miraculous Ladybug. But those are just my thoughts. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.